Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm going to be telling you guys all about the books I read in May. It was a slow reading month for me. I'm still getting out of a book slump that was caused by school, but hopefully in June I do read more. I'm still excited to share my thoughts about the books that I read in May. So the first book I read in May was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This book is essentially about a toxic relationship between BJ and Magnolia, and a lot of people compare it to Gossip Girl because BJ and Magnolia and like all their friends are rich and have money and they live in London and they just live a very affluent life. So it's really interesting to hear about all the rich people things. In this whole book, BJ and Magnolia, like all they do is hurt each other yet but can't stay away from each other. So that was kind of interesting. I gave it a 3.75. For me, it was definitely an interesting read, but it just didn't compel me. And I was a little worried about this happening, but in the beginning I was like, okay, the back and forth is like fun to read, but I'm scared I'm gonna get tired of it, and I did up to an extent. And for some reason, like the first like 40% of the book moved pretty slow for me, but after that it did pick up and I was like, okay, I'm really enjoying this a lot more. But now the first 40% I was not really vibing with it. But again, this was for sure an entertaining read, but I'm honestly not sure if I'm going to continue with the rest of this series. I know people think the Daisy Hates book is like really good. I think some people like that even more than Magnolia and BJ's books, so I don't know, maybe in the future, but as of now I do not see myself reading the books anytime soon. Then the next book I read in May was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I'm sure you guys all have heard about this book, but I'm gonna just give y'all a quick little synopsis if you haven't heard of this book before. But basically, Nora, she lives in New York City. She is a literary agent. Her sister approaches her with this idea to spend the summer in a small town, and while she's in that small town, she runs across this man named Charlie Lastra, who is a book editor who she actually ran into a while ago and they didn't have the best meeting. So you can imagine what that is like when she runs into him again in the small town, because it's like, what are the odds? And then we just see them connect from there. I gave Book Lovers a 4 out of 5 stars. I really liked it. I just love the small town vibes, and Emily Henry knows how to write some good banter, and the chemistry between the characters was just insane. And it was really interesting to read about the dynamic between Nora and her sister, because I personally don't have a sister, so it was really interesting to read about that dynamic, especially considering how they were brought up and what city they were brought up in. And it was really interesting to hear more about Charlie. I feel like I related to him in a lot of like mental health ways, so that was really cool as well. Now on Goodreads, I literally wrote, all I have to say is Charlie Lastra is him, because he literally is him. Like, he is for sure a top tier book boyfriend. Another thing that I really like, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I will say I am really happy with how like the epilogue was, because I felt like the characters stayed true to themselves. And then next I read Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney. This is a book that I've heard so many booktubers and bookstagrammers talk about, so I was really excited to get into it. And I love a good thriller. Like, thriller movies are one of my favorite genres, so I of course like thriller books. And I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And also, I'm gonna flex real quick because I posted a review for this book on my bookstagram and Alice Feeney herself commented, and I didn't even tag her or anything. I like hashtagged her name and like the title of the book, but I was so shocked when she saw it. So Rock Paper Scissors is about a couple, Adam and Amelia, and Adam has like facial blindness and like they're having troubles in their marriage, and so to kind of help this out, they go to a weekend away in Scotland to try to like regroup, reconnect, and all that stuff. But because it's a thriller, there's a lot of weird stuff that happens, and the whole time you're like, what the heck is going on? And I really like the style of this book because between like every chapter there's like a letter that was written throughout the span of their marriage, and it's just really interesting to read. I love like letters and notes and things like that in books, so I really like that. But yeah, I thought this was a really solid thriller. Usually I'm like so easy to come up with guesses no matter like how off they may be or correct they may be. This entire book, with every chapter ending in a cliffhanger, I literally had no idea what to think. Like, I did not come up with a single guess or anything like that because it was just so crazy. I feel like I still kind of left this book confused, but in a good way. I was just like, what did I to just read. And I definitely want to read more of her books. So if you're looking to get into her books, this is your sign. And then the last book I read in May was Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. This is a childhood friends to lover book. It's the classic. They both have a lake house. They meet when they're young, friends, fall in love, and then when they're a little bit older, something happens and then they don't talk for like a couple years. I think in this case it's like 10 years or something like that, or even more, I think. But the two main characters are Sam and Percy. I didn't say that earlier. I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I've seen this book compared to Love in Other Words, The Summer I Turned Pretty, and People We Meet on Vacation, and I definitely do agree that they all have like the same like summery vibe. But in my opinion, I think Every Summer After is like still stands on its own as its own book. But I will say it has been a while since I've read all of those books. Like I think I read all of those last summer, so I've had enough time to kind of like forget stuff. So if you've read any of those books and Every Summer After closely together, you might notice a couple of differences. But I will say while reading, there are like a couple things where I was like, wait, did this like exact thing happen in Love and Other Words? But yeah, this was a perfect summer read. The summer vibes were immaculate, and I think the story was paced very well. I will say like my only complaint about this book is I'm not too sure about the reason why they haven't talked in so long. More about how the characters were reacting to it. I'm not gonna spoil, but I felt like Percy kind of acted like a victim when she's the one that did the wrongdoing. But yeah, I'm not gonna go in further detail than that. So if you've read this book, comment down below your thoughts about that whole situation, and make sure to put like spoiler warnings for it. But overall, I would still recommend if you need like a cute, short, sweet little summer read. So those are all the books I read in May, but I am reading a book right now that I technically started in May, but I'm not gonna finish until a little bit into June. But I still wanted to at least mention it, but I'm gonna go more into detail in my June reading wrap up. But I at least wanted to mention that I am reading this book. But I did start Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I'm like 50% in, and I will say I'm really liking it so far. But the only thing that's kind of like making it hard for me to get through this book is Knox. Let me know if he gets better. He is kind of insufferable. I can look past the cheesiness of the book and the kind of longer chapters and stuff like that, but Knox is just so infuriating. I like a good grumpy male character, but not this grumpy, so it is kind of hard to like read through that, but I am determined to finish it very soon. And then of course you guys are gonna get my full thoughts and ratings on that book in my June reading wrap up. But for now, I just wanted to at least let it be known that I did start that book, but I just didn't finish it by the end of May. So that is the end of today's video. Thank you for sticking around and hearing me talk about all the books I read in May. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. And if you want to see me outside of my videos, all my socials are linked down below. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!